Hi, welcome to Rare Air Manufacturing. Today we're going to talk about installing Semaphore pockets in a sedan Beetle. A lot of guys, when they go to think about installing these, what they'll do is they'll actually buy a cutout roof pillar. And you know, it's not a bad way to go, but it can create a lot of problems. First of all, if you're cutting here and you're cutting here, it's a significant amount of work. You have to be concerned if you don't get things lined up properly, if your windows are going to fit. And of course, it allows this all to come undone. So at Rare Air Manufacturing, we have produced a part that is just exactly like the original part, except for we're not going to take and cut the pillars out to install these. What we will do is we're going to cut out an access hole on the inside of the pillar, okay? And then we're going to cut a hole out that's going to be just like the hole on the original Semaphore pocket, okay? So, we'll talk about some of the tools we're going to need for this. First of all, we're going to need to have some type of measuring device, whether it be a tape measure, a ruler, a square. All three of these are going to come in really handy. You'll need some kind of a marking tool. A pencil's good, maybe an awl. You're going to need a center punch, and you're going to need a hammer. Okay, you can use a spring-loaded center punch like that one as well. And then you're going to need a drill bit, and you're going to need a drill. And then, of course, lastly, you're going to need some kind of a tool to cut the hole. And we're going to use a little air-powered air saw. Okay, so first thing we're going to want to do is take some measurements. So we'll grab a tape measure, and starting from the drip rail, we're going to push the tape measure clear up into that drip rail, and we're going to measure down exactly 5 7/8 of an inch, okay? Then we're going to mark us a little line, and then we're going to go down to 12 7/8, and we're going to mark another line, okay? The final size and opening should be 7 inches exactly. It's okay if it's slightly less, it's okay if it's slightly more. 7 inches is what you want to be at. And then you want to go from the door edge going inwards, you want to mark a line at 5/16 of an inch and 5/16 of an inch. Then you're going to take your flexible ruler and set it on your pillar and draw the line, okay? And you're going to want to come over 11/16 from that line to the next line. You want to come over exactly 11/16 of an inch, okay? Now, something that you need to know is if you're using a set of original Semaphores, they are all really close to the same dimensions. But if you go with some of these aftermarket Semaphores, some of the issues that they have is the actual width of the solenoid, because they're a 12-volt solenoid, is slightly wider than the 6-volt solenoids. So you may have to make your opening slightly wider. Otherwise, you're going to really fight to push this into the hole. You'll have to determine what width you need to cut it at. Now, if you decide that you need to cut it wider, you want to take the width from this side. Do not go to the left. Don't go towards the quarter window at all. You want to take all of your excess material from the door side of the opening, okay? So once we have outlined our opening, you've made a square opening, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take a center punch, and you're going to want to center punch not in the corner, but I'm using a, let's see here, I believe it's a 13/64. I'm using a 13/64 punch, okay? And I line that in here so that when I punch the hole, it's not going to be outside of our lines, okay? So once you've done that, you can literally take a drill, and you can, I'm gonna do 2 steps. I'm gonna do a real small drill bit, and then I'm gonna do a larger drill bit, okay? And the reason why is because then I can see that I've actually got the holes where I want them to be. So this is a pretty easy deal. So I've already marked my holes. Okay, I've marked my holes, and now I have drilled them with basically an 1/8 inch drill bit, maybe a little smaller. Okay, and now I'm going to use this larger drill bit, which is the one that I was talking about, 13/64. Okay, so let me pull this down, see if I can show you guys what we're looking at here. All right. If you take a look and see, as soon as I figure out where the hell we're at, okay, you'll see where those circles are at. They pretty well line up with the lines, okay? And that is what we're going for. So, put this back up here. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to connect the dots. We're going to do that with our air body saw. So we'll grab hold of our air body saw. I'm going to probably grab me a little ladder since this is up a little higher than I want it to be, but I'll do it like this to start with. Okay. Okay. All right, so we've cut the hole out now, and you may have to take a file or a grinder or anything to just smooth it up, make sure it's really nice and clean, all right? But now we have the hole in here for our Semaphore. The next thing that we gotta do is we gotta go on the back side, and we've gotta cut a door out so that we can actually slide the Semaphore pocket in from the back side. So, I didn't mark anything out, but I'm quite certain that we can do this pretty easy here. So I'm gonna go slightly below the Semaphore pocket opening, and I'm gonna cut an access door. This access door we're gonna go ahead and replace when we're all done. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on cutting it out. So let's see here. So I've now finished cutting my access door out. So I'm going to grab my little Semaphore pocket piece here, and from the inside of this, I'm going to go ahead and slide it down the hole. So we can pull this out. Alright, so now that we got it in there, we just got to get it positioned. Okay, I got to do a little bit of cleanup here to make room for it. So let me turn this off and then we'll turn it back on in a moment. All right, so I've cut the hole out now for the access to be able to install the Semaphore from the very back of the pillar. I've done it from the bottom of the opening, if you can see my finger there. From there down to here is roughly 4 inches. Overall, we're roughly 7 inches tall, okay? And you can see that, you know, I'm real close to the window opening, which won't hurt a thing. All of this, the great thing about this is, all of this will get covered up by the headliner when we're all done. So there's a few things I want to show you guys in regards to these Semaphores as you're test fitting them, okay? First of all, let's see if we can show you this. So if you look at this Semaphore pocket, you'll see that there is a little tab here, okay? And then there's a screw on the bottom, all right? So basically, the Semaphore lifts up, goes into the tab, and then you push the screw down and you tighten it up, all right? Now, you're going to have to test fit these several times in order to get everything just right before you decide to weld it. As far as adjustments on there, there is an adjustment. There's an adjustment. Once you get this welded in place, there's an adjustment up and down, and there's a slight adjustment side to side. Sometimes, if you don't get it welded just in place correctly, you can take and you can grind on either side of the tab, and that will give you a little left or right movement. And the screw will allow you about 1/16 of an inch movement right and left on the bottom. Okay? It's imperative that you try to get it as close as possible. So the next thing that you're going to want to do as you're doing this is you've cut out your opening in the front, you've cut out your access in the back, and then you're going to want to drill 3 holes. Those holes are going to spot weld the side of the pocket to this part of your car, okay? And you're going to want to do that roughly at, let's measure it here. So you're going to do it at 2.5 from the bottom of the opening, 2.5 inches up, and then 6.5 inches up. Is that right? 2.5, let's go this way. Let's see here. You've got 2.5, 4.5, and 6.5 inches, okay? That's roughly where you're going to want to be. In about the center of the opening is where you're going to want to be, okay? And then when you get it sitting in place, you'll take some type of vice grip, like something like this here, and you'll just reach in, grab hold of it, and then you'll just put your spot welds in. So the next part that we're at is we need to set our Semaphore in place. Oh, something else I want to tell you. So if you put these Semaphores in your pocket and you can't see anything, there's a little tab right here, okay? You have to pull this tab up in order to open up the Semaphore. Do not try to open up the Semaphore without lifting up the tab. You can reach in with a little hook tool or screwdriver, whatever you can get a hold of, okay? And you're gonna have to push it back, okay? You push that back and that releases the lock and allows the Semaphore to open. If you try to pull it open, you're gonna destroy the Semaphore, okay? So a little key that you ought to know about. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to assemble the Semaphore into the pocket. I'm going to pre-do that prior to putting it in the car. And the reason why is the Semaphore needs to be in the pocket prior to welding it. And the reason why is because you want to be able to make sure that before you go welding this thing, that you've got it sitting really close to where it needs to sit. So, and by the way, if you're wondering where the heck does the wire come from, the wiring for the Semaphores come from the headliner, okay? So it comes from the post, comes down into the pillar, and then it comes right into the top of the Semaphore pocket, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and slide this in. Oh, another thing is as you look at this, you're going to see there's a little tab, okay? That's the way they did it from the factory, and that's how we do it here at Rare Air. There's a little tab here. So you're going to slide the Semaphore in from the back side, all right? You lift it up, and then you slide it over until you can get that tab to just sit on the lip of your, there we go. And it should seat right down on there, okay? And then once you've done that, then you got to take your Semaphore, and what you're looking for is to make sure the top is centered. You want it to be centered, and you want it to stick mostly flush with the body of the car. The thing is if the bottom is in too far, you can space that out with a washer. That's not a problem, okay? The top needs to be as close as humanly possible. And there is also an adjustment for the stop, okay? There's a tab with a little rubber O-ring on it, and you can bend that out, and that will make it to where the Semaphore will not close as tight, and it'll allow it to be equal with the body of the car. So anyways, now that I've got this sitting about where it needs to sit, it's time for me to literally reach in here and put a couple spot welds in here. So I think I'll go ahead and I'll do that. I've already drilled the 3 holes out, and I use the same drill bit as what I used in these 4 corners. So I'm going to go ahead and weld those in place, and we'll see what we get. All right, welcome back. Well, I've now got this Semaphore installed. I've got it adjusted. It didn't take much to adjust this thing. It's only held in with these 3 welds, these 3 spot welds, and you can weld it with the Semaphore in the pocket. Matter of fact, I recommend that you do, because I don't know how the heck you would get it adjusted properly otherwise. So what I did is I set the Semaphore in here. I made sure that everything was where I want it to be, and then I literally just put a tack weld here, rechecked it, everything was fine, and then I just put a couple more plug welds in. It's quick, it's easy, and it works. And then you also have this little tab here at the bottom, which you don't have to do anything with this tab. It just sits there, okay? It's the way that it was from the factory. They don't get welded. Some guys will take and they will weld it, and then they'll put a little putty over it and make it to where it just kind of goes away. Up to you what you want to do there. The only thing else we've got to do is we've got the inside door, which we've got to replace. But since this top is never going on another car again, I don't have to worry about doing that. Anyways, I hope that I've given you the information that you need to help you make an informed decision as to whether you want to tackle this job. I honestly think that anybody with basic skills should be able to do this job. So thanks for stopping by. Look us up at rareairmfg.com. And if you ever have any comments or questions, you can always email me at rareairmfg@gmail.com, and I'll get to your questions as soon as I can. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy your Volkswagens. See you next time.